so,
Yeah.
Get here, but
I'm using.
Otherwise, we'll get moving.
Not somebody.
Oh, yeah, that's who does.
it is quite odd listening to your own voice when you watch,
Like, you might have it. and
watch the video. It's like,
It's horrifying.
Thursday's coming on, so.
I didn't stick
I
my
said, oh,
voice
let
to
me
the
send
beat
you maybe
of
some
the-
delay.
you know.
You're in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
schedule
Yeah,
is
I'm
low,
like,
you know,
whoa.
But you're doing work.
I know it's
you know,
lower,
you know,
but
it's
man,
sticking
that's-
around, but he's
right.
good.
No,
I don't
I
think
said
we-
to him, I know.
You got my phone, so
Then I'm.
We're at 8:02.
Right now.
That's great.
we'll give her to like
So
8:03.
you said that you came, you knew about him through.
So-
Mike and Jeff.
Pretty busy
Yeah,
time of
and
year
Dave's
for you,
in my
huh?
house.
Yeah.
Right, I know that. And I said,
I mean, we go a little longer today.
That's great.
Yeah.
I gotta go follow up for this
That's
today.
really cool.
I got to,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Since we-
I gotta be.
Since we had Christopher
like,
Pence, he goes to his website, I mean, he's becoming
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I gotta
you
go
know,
meet,
more professional about it.
and-
I think our fence is on his website, which I was
So I
like,
gotta be out
cool.
nine.
Like photo of it. Yeah.
Wondering what you.
Well, let
We
me,
liked our
just thinking,
style.
we could
Okay.
We did a different
Like,
sort
if
of
we have to
style.
vote,
you don't really see around.
get
He
that-
did it.
all
Like,
that
I
done
just
before
gave him a
9
picture.
o'clock.
This is
Yeah.
what I want.
because a lot of times people do have to duck out.
Oh.
Conversation can go on.
Yeah.
And if they're so curious.
You might
they
have to
can
bug him a little.
Go
Well,
on
I'll
and
send him
listen
the
to
email,
it.
yeah.
So,
But he was so sure.
Good morning,
Oh, I'm
Carolyn.
gonna call
Good
Easter
morning.
up on Monday and get the, and it's like, and I'll be here, I would look at that Thursday.
I guess we're gonna get going. We'll have the videotape.
Always.
So one thing first, before we talk about the minutes, if you want anything changed on the agenda, please let me know like a week ahead of time, because I don't really feel like revising it after I've done the first go around. Otherwise, it'll be under new business, or you just bring it up.
Some of my idea could make that easy.
All right. All right, so the minutes, are there any corrections, edits on the minutes? None, Martin?
I have to say, I was supposed to read them this morning again. I read them when they first came out, and then I was supposed to read them this morning, and I totally forgot. So-
Trust your first reading. At least you got it.
All right, so, does anybody want to make a motion to accept those minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Lena's first, Martin second. Any further discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All right, next up. Oh, all right, so Zoom transcript, Lena. You're gonna look into,
Oh.
when the Zoom,
Okay, I
And
totally
trans-
forgot, but now I'm officially adding it. If I don't add it to my to-do app, I won't do it. So now I'm gonna add it right here in this moment.
all right,
Everybody
so
can
we'll
watch
take
it.
it to next,
Yeah.
the next one.
So explain what are we talking about here?
So I was gonna check if we could get a Zoom transcript to help us with the meeting minutes, to just automate it.
I can answer a bit of that.
You know,
for
yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have that,
We don't have transcript.
that transcript paid for as a part of this. But one of the things that I'm trying to do is also the ability for us to live broadcast to Facebook.
Yeah.
A few challenges that I'm working through there, but a transcripts comes with the purchase to be able to live broadcast to Facebook. So,
Mhm.
TBD.
Great.
Yeah, stay tuned.
All right, stay tuned on that, and I will not create this to do.
Yeah, the big deal on that is the minutes could be like 5 pages long, of course, so it's editing it down.
Well, you know, the beauty of ChatGPT is you can then feed the transcript into it and ask it to summarize every syllable point, and that works really well.
All right, great.
Let's let the robots do the work for us.
Yeah, that's where we're going, right?
Yeah, might as well embrace it.
You should also look at Fireflies AI, which is another one that I'm looking at as a part of this whole transcript thing. And it literally does that. It listens to the whole meeting and it says, here are the action items, who
Yeah.
owns them, and here's the overview. It's super
Wow.
easy.
It's amazing.
You
We have-
have people jumping in to be secretary.
Okay, cool. So once we get that transcription, I could do the robot piece. Cause I have I have subscription to it, so.
I agree. All right, so next up, trail steward signups. Carolyn, anything?
So, yeah, finally, I've been so tardy with this, but, I sent out, to Elliot last night, the form he is gonna sign. He also asked this morning if Judy could, have a form sent to her. So we've got those two, and then, the two folks, I have a couple close to Mill on Main. I just have to see if they're still interested, and then I have somebody, Port Bend section. So.
Question for you, the run club, you know, we have the Ellenville Run Club.
Yeah,
Folks in the run club have been saying, we should just be trail strewers, because we're running on the trail all the time.
okay,
Do you want me, I could bring printouts to the run club or email, like if you can email me the form and I can send it to folks, what's the best way to get?
So it is available, the form is available on your shared drive.
Oh, yeah, okay,
And,
and that's the most
That's,
up to date.
yeah, and that's what I've been doing with it, is just
Okay.
have some copies of it, that's the way to do it.
I'm just asking folks to be like eyes on the trail, and
Yeah.
they haven't gone beyond that.
Yep.
You know,
Okay.
they're just gonna tell us when.
So I'll send that to the run club too.
So Alina, it's on the town website also, where I wonder,
Okay,
Parks.
they're both the most up to date one.
I'm assuming.
Yeah,
there's
there's
only
only one.
There's only one. Okay,
Just so
great.
you know, Carolyn, I think Hank signed up, right?
Yeah.
And your wife, I signed
Oh,
up,
nice.
too. I signed up too, I turned in the other day, so.
Douglas, last week, Douglas Nicolay, he has a big group of volunteers who work, you know, primarily in Littman, but also on the rail trail. He reached out to me clarifying how, you know, how people can chainsaw, what certificates they need to present, so I'm expecting he's gonna sign up a bunch of people too.
So I'm assuming they turn in a copy of their certificate with the application.
It's a first aid, CPR, and the cutting certificate.
Okay. All right. I mean, I just did the basic.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
It
you,
probably wouldn't be a bad idea for all of us on the
Yeah.
commission
Yeah,
to fill it out and turn it in case we're there and if you move something.
is it a training for the chainsaw and first aid? What-
Certificate.
There's a certificate.
Yeah, it's
okay.
either a game of logging, Forest Service, or OSHA.
But you go to a class, I'm
Yeah.
assuming, right?
Yeah, the OSHA one's the easiest to get. You can get that from people that sell chainsaws from time to time.
Great.
you're
Cool.
interested?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I might be too.
Okay,
Might
well,
be
if I
helpful
sign
for
up for
that.
something, I'll send it around to the group.
Yeah, that could be interesting, yeah.
Chainsaw.
And the other one I mentioned to Carolyn was Christian, I forget his last
Yeah.
name, that's in the Bennett House.
Oh, yeah.
Because I ran into him, he says he walks up and down it almost daily.
Yeah, it does.
So,
Does anybody know a gentleman named Chad who goes on the rail trail at all?
No.
All right,
Yeah,
I met him and he's a skier, so I wanted
Oh,
him,
wow.
I was,
country,
yeah, he and I were skiing the trail and he was grooming the tracks and I was like, this is amazing, but I told him about this meeting, so maybe he'll come at some point.
the other day I was on it was after it snowed, and there were more people on there when it was after it snowed than when it's dry.
It was so pretty.
And there was a whole bunch of them that were cross-country skiing along with Christian. So,
My mailman's name is Chad. You know if he's a mailman.
Oh, but ask him about that. Ask him if he skis.
Okay.
Did you want to say anything, Hank? You were almost going to say something.
no, I just wanted to, you know, in terms of the volunteer things, I just wanted to report that the Renegades group is signing on, and honestly, you know, they've done the most labor in town parks of anybody.
They were, including the rail trail, you know.
Yeah.
Right that way.
Yeah, they saw it out, they built bridges on the rail trail, and all kinds of stuff.
All right, next up, rail trail updates. Anybody wants to jump in?
So the, you know, the OSI, ARPA funding is, they're basically completing that. I'm going out to meet, Paul Colucci and Annie Berglund after this meeting, and, kind of the last thing that has to happen is, to erect that third kiosk in the old downtown Vermont area, so we're going to look to site that. We have this big blowout in Shingle Gully. I'm trying to come up with some engineering solutions that are cheap and simple that would allow the town to, make the improvements, for that section.
I have one note on that. Elliot and Marcus got in touch with me about
Yeah,
doing Run Like the Wind on the trail. And I asked them if they had, you know, they donate the proceeds for that run. And I asked them if they had, you know, chosen who they're gonna give the money to this year, and they said they hadn't.
Mhm.
And I suggested, what if it could go to OSI to fix the Shingle
probably
Gully?
gonna be done by the town.
Okay,
It looks like that to me at this point,
Okay,
just to keep everything real simple with permitting and stuff.
okay, is funding an issue
Oh,
for
yeah.
that? Yeah.
That's gonna be, it's not gonna be inexpensive.
Right. So I'm gonna just, if anybody knows them and wants to also water the seed, I think encouraging them to, to maybe have that be the town be the recipient in, like, for the shingle gully repair would be really cool if they're gonna use the rail trail and people can sort of see the impact they'll have.
Be good, yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure how into it they were, but that's why I think they hear from many voices. We'll see.
Another thing that, you know, they installed these bollards, at all of the trailheads, basically, where people park their cars. And somebody pretty quickly ran over the one in Ellenville and destroyed it. And, so that's another thing I'm looking at with Annie. She, when she was putting them in, she's like, I don't know if these are sturdy enough, and they're not. So I'm looking at working with her to try and do some kind of a retrofit with replacing this part with the steel part,
Yeah.
replacing the wood part with the steel part.
Then the steel could still hinge.
Yeah, it's not gonna be anywhere near as convenient and somewhat dangerous to flip down with steel, so you got a little bit of thinking to do.
Quick question on that. I was wondering if there was any chance for any other kind of treatment, because even, so when I was there skiing the other day, there was four-wheelers and, snowmobiles tearing up the trail. And I encourage everybody, I called the police department immediately and, you know, I don't know if they did anything, but, cause I saw the individuals there. And so I was just wondering if there's any other treatment we could get in addition to the bollard, because those vehicles are just going around the two spaces on either side of the bollard.
Mm.
Yeah, they're
so-
about 4 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tighten up the bollards a little, but you have to leave them big enough for strollers, wheelchairs, things like that. So you know,
Is there any gate option or something that's like
it
a,
doesn't work. You know, the rail trail is porous, so if you just put a hard block there, people are gonna be able
Go
to get
another way.
onto it from like side trails. And honestly, the best thing is to get a lot more pedestrians on there.
you know,
The more pedestrians you have, and just giving those people the hairy eyeball when you see them on there. Eventually, when we outnumber the motorized
Yeah.
recreationists, they slow down on using it. And just a little tip, and you have to do this in a safe fashion, but if you see an ATV or a snowmobile, they're required to have registrations
Yeah.
on them. If you can get a picture of the registration, that's useful information for the police.
okay.
Would you put a double pop bollard on there, Hank, just to, so that the 4-footers can't?
Yeah, you
get
could
by?
probably tighten them up. I'll
Put
talk to
two of
you.
them
I think
up.
that would
I
be,
think 36 inches would be your most spacing, right? 'Cause that's the ADA requirement,
that
so,
would
you
be
know.
huge though,
But
because then
36 would keep probably
A lot of
ATVs,
slack
but
out.
maybe not,
Mm.
not all.
it would just at least be something,
Mhm.
right? Cause right now they just can go right in. That would be
I
cool.
mean, motorcycles are on there too, already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, spin out.
It's, you know, it's not the end of the world to have the motorized vehicles on there. It's,
Not so bad when they're just going up and down.
But they've been doing wheelies and messing up the
Surface.
surface. That's what bothers me.
the sleds are a little less worse.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, when the snow disappears there. But the real thing, honestly, the real thing is just getting a lot of
People.
pedestrians and bicyclists on it.
On that note, I wonder if with the ARPA funding, if there's any chance that sign that we were gonna ask the village to pay for, I feel we can't ask the village to pay for anything right now. So I wonder if there's any way we can sneak in that $500 or whatever for the sign on Canal.
Vehicle sign?
Well, yeah, just to alert people, like if the solution is let's get more people on the trail, I think a bigger signage in the motor vehicle style will just be so helpful.
They tapped out the grant.
You know?
I thought that says no motorized vehicles.
It does. No, I'm talking about like a wayfinding sign for,
We were trying to set up one of the signs from the signage and wayfinding plan that's called out for at the intersection of Edwards and 52, which would basically
So people
direct
can
vehicles to
see.
the ball fields and the rail trail.
All right.
and like vehicular style, so that if you're driving down 52, you see that, oh, I go that way for a rail trail.
You want to direct people over there, not to keep motorized.
Yeah.
vehicles.
So the last thing I want to report, and I've done, you know, not with ARPA funding, but with a grant that we got from Jen Metzger when she was a state senator. That's been completed as well. So the bridge is installed north of Fort Bend, and there's we have a nice little pocket park in Fort Bend, which is already getting a lot of activity. before they put the bollard up, somebody drove their car down there, turned it around and dropped it off the side of the rail trail into the ditch, so there's some learning curves.
Bollard's gotta go in first.
Well, you know, the way the bollards are now, you could literally just push them over with your car.
Right.
So we have to tighten up the
It's like
security.
locks on doors that keeps the innocent people out. Right?
Yeah.
So now that the bridge is done, is there continuous, flow now to the trail?
Well, the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference has rerouted the long path onto the rail trail because a section of it got destroyed by firefighting operations in that fire, a year and a half ago or so. So they're maintaining it from Fordmore Road, that all the way to Fort Bend. So they went in there as part of turning that into the long path and, cut out all the trees that were on it and reblazed it. And I know that, the OSI is diligently pursuing funding, to do that section from, basically from the prison up to, the intersection of Fordmore and Burn.
Right.
I know they're looking at trying to do it with ARPA funding, but they're trying every which way.
So from Fordmore to 4455.
Maps right here.
That's something that the town is, working on with their, DOT grant. We actually, Dennis, Brian Slack actually just reached out to the town, and our consultants, last week to get an update on it, which is a good sign, because he controls the purse strings. That project is also underfunded by about $500,000. So the town put in a letter to him asking for more money to the Transportation Council, Brian Slack and Dennis Doyle, to increase the funding on the tip stick for that project. So it's good that Brian's reaching out with some interest to see what's going on with the engineering.
Okay, and then now about the village section,
Wait, were you just talking about the connector trail?
No,
Oh.
I'm talking about the town's DOT project, which goes from the intersection of Fordmore and Burn Road and then north and crosses 4455.
You have a question?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, actually. So tonight, the board is, voting to approve, some excavating costs, it's like $110,000, PE Colucci excavating, for the OW Rail Trail. Is there anything, I mean, the washout that happened, is that, like, is there any way that we can get that excavating team to help us with some of that washout stuff? Did they work on that area now?
The washout was in the, was on the town-owned section. It wasn't, that 100,000 is basically the payment for the Metzger grant. So that's the reimbursable expense that the town is incurring. So that covers the section, this little section I just described in Port Bend.
Got it, okay.
And as far as like any kind of warranty on the, Jingle Gully blowout,
Yeah.
as I call it. They were, OSI was pretty clear when they were building it, Tony Paez, he knows roads, right? So the first thing he said was like, what are you gonna do with the Jingle Gully section? And they said, we don't really have enough money with this ARPA funding to do this the right way. So we kind of went into it knowing it was gonna blow out, and I mean, Mother Nature showed us that because it blew out, within a few weeks of getting finished. We had that big 5-inch rainstorm.
Yeah.
And that needs like needs some kind of like a really large cement, bridge / culvert. It flows an incredible amount of water. So.
Thank
And
you.
those things are not cheap. They're $200,000.
Thanks for explaining that. I really like that. In terms of, I know that we'll have more things that we'll, talk about today that, as your liaison, certain things that you would like for me to bring up.
Are you the parks liaison?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
Along with Bill Brown, right?
Correct, yeah.
Both of them are.
Are there, based off of this conversation, is it worthwhile reminding the folks at the meeting tonight, hey, there are no motorized vehicles on these trails? That includes four-wheelers and snowmobiles. It's adding to the disruption of what was already washed out essentially, but we're talking about that.
Yeah.
I think it's always been.
And motorcyclists. too,
You
Johnny.
you get
Okay.
the town should ask the sheriffs to put their ATV patrol on the rail trail from time to time. Make a request to Ulster County sheriffs.
Okay.
That would help.
That would be great.
And the sheriffs do like to ride their ATVs around.
It's a win-win. Kind of defeats the purpose of no motorized vehicles, but, okay, that's great. And then, I think that was everything. And is it all right if I share the completion of the bridge?
Yeah, that's what that bill is for, the town's gonna,
Nobody having to take a picture of it, did they?
I don't have a picture of it. It's nice.
I bet. I have to go walk up there.
I'm gonna go on it tomorrow.
Last time I went up, it was like going
The
through
problem
the
is
Amazon.
there's no like authorized parking.
Well, there's like those two spots by that guy's house, just before the bridge.
Yeah, you mean like at the end of the road?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's it.
on the right-hand side is town property. I guess you could park there.
Yeah, I parked there
Mhm. The guy
and made sure to be
yeah.
friendly to the guy, yeah. I'm like, oh, he's great. He was nice.
Yeah.
A little wary, but nice. He said he got all the wood from cutting down the trees, so
Yeah.
he benefited.
I'm assuming that Tony will go occasionally over and look at the washed out area.
I think he already
Did
has.
he? How about the village section? Any movement there?
On the rail trail?
Well, Burn, from Burn Road.
Oh, yes, the connector. So I need to, just nudge Brian a little bit on the, the deliverables in January on the timeline he gave me and just sort of see the status of those. I don't have an update from him yet.
So the village had Mike Warren as their project.
Right, so
manager.
this is-
Project.
So this is a bigger, it's a bigger issue for both that project and the Burn Road Park grant with the town. Where, I spoke with Evan about it and he's interested in trying to see if the village could like hire me as a pro bono something or other consultant so that I could project manage those two projects in the interim.
Mhm.
Since Elliot is an interim village manager and obviously like their focus, we actually had this conversation weeks ago before Mike Warren left. Just to free up, because the village needs to focus on the financial issues,
Right.
not like project managing a parks project right now. So this was my solution of like, can I help? And, I know Evan is talking to Ian about it, the lawyer, to see if there's, how we could do that. But if we can do that, then I can, just be the direct contact
Yeah.
and take these projects forward. So Sam, that might come up at some point.
Yeah, because this is the first time I'm hearing about this at all. Evan hasn't brought that up.
Yeah, it was just in the last week or two, so
Oh.
I think I'm sure it's not at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to get
But somebody
designated
has
as
to
the
be
project
designated.
manager for that federal grant. That's like a fiscal requirement.
Yeah.
So,
It's and just like for me, the thinking is like, this is one way that like us as Parks Commissioner folks could like really help with the actual work of it, like, so I'm hoping that works out.
Because the bids have to go out for the porch, right?
Yeah, and the bids need to come, because I was saying like, I'll put it all together, but they need to come from official village.
Yeah. And those DOT grants, like you need a project manager because that's like a shopping cart program. If you don't push it, it doesn't go.
Right. So as we know, like, I'm willing to push it. And so hopefully, I'll ask Evan again, just to see if we could get that figured out, maybe at the next village board meeting, so that we could.
So one note on that project at Burn Road Park, I had been in the town all the other day, Bill Brown was in. And they were talking about the courts and the repaving and all, and one of the vendors mentioned to Bill that they want a engineer to actually do something on that,
It's a
so
good idea.
now that's gonna add more cost to that project.
That was already, we were already tight on the budget for it, but.
There
Well,
was,
I know that with Mike Jetter is the person that would be the
Yeah,
person.
that's a one vendor. Now, who knows if another vendor would require an engineer?
No, but I still think it's a good idea to have an engineer look at it beforehand, just.
Well, again, this is why we need a project manager on it to actually get the bids for, like, to understand what the costs would be for any of this.
Mike did have, Mike Jetter had a chance to talk to Barton Bugle engineers about the drainage issues for the courts when they were doing the master plan. So we had kind of like a,
The little consultation.
yeah, I mean, he didn't have engineering drawings, but they gave him a sketch of what, an idea what needed to be done. So I assume that curtain drain that he did install, yeah.
Recommendation, yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so too. I think I'm just gonna touch base with Mike Jetter because he would know more. He has reached out definitely regarding the courts, because we have pushed them.
You don't want to repave them and then have to.
Or to, yeah, and do it over.
So that was one of the vendors to do, so that might put some of the other items off that whole project, the lighting, whatever.
Yeah, I think like any chance of lighting, or basically anything other than the courts and the fencing around the courts. Any chance of that getting in on the grant money is like almost
Minimal.
nothing, yeah.
So I went and checked out, or if we're talking about Burnwood Park, I went and checked out those other light poles.
Mhm.
Very technical, I just poked a knife into them, just like, they're not in good condition.
Yeah, Mike said they were, yeah.
They're not, they're so. Maybe the thing to do is, well, knock them down so they don't fall into the fences.
Yeah,
I did see.
because they're not in use right now, the lights don't even work,
So they're not repairable at all.
I don't think so. I think they probably all like are from the same era. And, I don't know what the genesis of the poles was. I'm guessing that they got them from somewhere after they had been removed, just looking at them. That's common.
They're rotting is basically
Yeah,
what you're
Yeah,
saying.
they're at the end of their service life.
So Sam, the thing we would do is get aluminum. If and when we have funding to do poles and lighting, replace them with aluminum poles.
And this would be the lights just around the court, not the lights by the softball field.
Those don't look too good either.
But
Those
they're
are
more
for-
sustainable
Yeah,
right
and they're
now
further.
than the ones by.
They aren't high on the priority list.
I agree, I think it makes sense to just remove the ones around the court, not in use.
Right.
Danger of ruining a huge investment we're about to make.
Right, and what you're losing is night play, which is nice, but not.
Well, it's gonna use it right
Oh,
now.
we don't have it right
Right, you don't have now because the lights aren't working.
It's getting lighter, I won't change the cost in another month.
now. Yeah, and that's the other thing.
Do you wanna talk about the lighting meeting you had?
Sure, so Mike Warren arranged a meeting about lighting, which I felt was pretty preemptive. This was a few weeks ago. I thought it was a little preemptive because I don't think we'll have any funds to do it, so
was Terry at that meeting as well?
Gary was at the
Okay,
meeting.
I just want to make sure it's the same.
I think
Yeah.
it was just to get ahead of the game because we thought we would have enough funds
Yeah.
because that's one of the things that we did want to invest in
Yeah.
with the courts and the lights, to
Yeah.
have that more people to come and enjoy it. So I guess he was just doing his due diligence of doing it ahead of time. So.
Yeah. And it was basically like a little sales presentation from one lighting company. And I just feel like,
Magnetic induction.
yeah, it was magnetic induction lighting, interesting,
It is.
but we need to kind of revisit.
It's
Much later.
Overpowered by some panel.
Well, it's highly efficient, and they're using, DOT's using it in some places.
But you need to run electric to the.
Well, it's fully, yeah, it uses electricity. It also
Is there-
uses,
I mean, the big thing we have to keep in mind is, this whole project needs to be done this year because of the time.
That's why I'm eager, if there's anything
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
do, Sam, to nudge on this idea of getting me in a position where I can be the project manager,
If-
then because that's what we're blocked by, right?
If that can't happen, somebody from the town, because they kind of put the proposal in together, could somebody from the town be the project manager?
I think that it should be both the village and the
Yeah.
town together, because I think the thing is that, the village wants as part, especially me, as part of being on the village board, I want to have a say of not a say, but get an input of what's going on as well, since it's the village park.
It might also be
Both of the
required,
villages grant.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause-
It's two
because
separate
it's,
grants.
yeah,
Separate
we
grants.
have to show
So
where.
you need
So
somebody.
I think we need
So
somebody,
somebody, Terry is maybe already on it.
he's on it as a town.
Because we put in our amount.
That would really help the county,
The other,
you know, you guys can pull,
we
pull
can
the
put it
grant through
together,
with the,
yes.
with the village.
So that's the other thing I was gonna say is that the county legislature met the other night. And this came up and I was, they approved ARPA funding for the village to help us in the financial moment, which was great. But a lot of the comments were like really kind of nasty from the
Yeah,
opposition. They were
bailout.
nasty about like, we just gave them this grant for the park and what are they even doing with it,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. So I made a note where I really want to go to the legislature after we do it and show what we've done and show that we had fiscal responsibility about this grant. So again, if we can get unblocked on this project management issue, I'm gonna nudge Evan about it again today, because I think it's as simple as like, let's just understand if it's possible legally, and then at the next village board meeting, the trustees vote on it, and then we can just move forward.
I mean, if you're the project manager, the village still has to make all the fiscal decisions.
Right. It's just like I would then just have the power to like send an email.
Communicate on
Yeah.
behalf of the village.
Yeah.
That's really what.
I don't have any objection, but I know it might be an issue with some other trustees putting somebody else in that position and just designating yourself versus them wanting to have input of who they want on, in their. But I get it.
The Parks Commission.
I agree. No, I,
And I wonder if like, I've been coming to the village board meetings every week and
You
doing a report, like there is like a lot of precedent here for just transparency and openness, and so. Hopefully, maybe with your help, Sam, we
Yeah.
could bring people on board with the idea.
Yeah.
Cause my priority is just like. It was a frustrating delay up till now with relying on Mike Warren, and any further delay puts this project, we start to get in jeopardy.
yeah, no, I agree.
I think you nailed it too, like, Mike might have been slow on some park stuff, but the village has other kettles to fish.
Exactly, it's a way that we, like, you're going to the village board meetings lately and people are just saying, how can we help? The community wants to help. And this is a good way.
And it's pro bono. So.
Yeah. This would not be a paid.
That part of it's a slam dunk.
You might have to take $1.
All right. The other interesting thing about it is like, as parks commissioners, it may even, I'm curious about our bylaws. I know we don't seem to follow them, but I think it would be really nice to follow them more and more as we move forward, but like having the concept that might be something we start to do more often, is that as the parks commissioners, we are able to.
Honestly, the bylaws call for us to be commissioners, but we definitely function as a committee.
Right.
So,
No, the bylaws would have to be redone.
I think we should try following the bylaws.
Well,
rather than
we
reading
don't
them.
have no control of funding, so there's no annual report because there's no funding, so.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the interesting thing though is because it is titled a commission, you are allowed to,
And-
persuade is not the right word, but it's to like, send out a report to say, here's how you're going to spend money that you already allocate to this project or to this commission, right?
Yeah,
And so then that report goes up to the board and the board says, yep, stamp of approval on
Right.
how you plan to spend the money that we're already allotted.
right. I think that, this is a bigger conversation, but I think if we started trying to make time ourselves to do some of this stuff, then we could just do it.
Part of it being involved in the budget process.
Correct.
Steps.
Mhm.
And that really's got to start in the summertime when they're already thinking about it.
As your liaison, I will absolutely ensure that you're involved, or I'm at least communicating back to you all, or communicating your concerns up as we're going through that process.
All right. Nothing more on the rail trails or the parks, so, and movement ed on the survey that been.
Last contact I had with Terry on it was December 31st. Has Terry mentioned anything to you about the Western Park survey?
Those words are ringing a bell in my head, but I don't know why.
Because in that back and forth, he wanted me to kind of summarize so that he can go to the two new board members and explain the purpose of the survey. at, before the board meeting, but it's already past January, so there hasn't been much mention about it.
Yeah.
So we had a situation at Living Park where some of the bike trails were built onto private property.
Hmm.
And we had a portion of the property surveyed to remedy that and move the trail back onto Living Park property. And we don't have a full solid survey of the entire park, so there could be other instances where there are trails or other uses going on the private property that we might not be aware of. And since we're gonna be investing money into the park to maintain it, keep it, we should probably know where the property lines are.
Mhm.
So that's the purpose of having the park surveyed, having it one parcel, having it separated from, the landfill area. So we can actually have a spot that where if we invest money into it, we know it's on the property and we're not gonna have to move it or have something on the neighbor's property.
Is the parcel today inclusive of the landfill? It's kind of one large parcel?
So there's 5 separate parcels,
Okay,
and we're gonna combine it, so there's gonna be one, parks parcel and one landfill parcel. There's gonna be some adjustment in between the landfill and the park, so there's no landfill use on park property or the park parcel.
got it.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Right,
If we, if it comes down to it, we just get a survey at this point, I don't even care what it comes to be, if it ends up being one parcel or 2 separate, or if it's not quite adjusted how it is,
Mhm.
at least we'll know where the property lines are, we're not encroaching on our neighbors and
Yeah.
citizens.
What's the survey cost? Do you have an estimate?
It's probably gone up since then, I
You
got
got
three,
three
I
estimates.
got 3
That's for
estimates,
town
six
requirements.
to 8 months ago, and
I'm sorry. I will ask about that and.
Thank you.
And continue to push that. It seems to make a lot of sense. Is there, what's the importance? I mean, obviously, other than the optics of like, there's a landfill happening on your park property. What's the importance of separating those parcels for those functions? Is there any kind of additional funding we can get or?
it's just really to keep the 2 functions separate, because I have it designated as different uses, so just to keep the uses separate.
Keep uses, okay, that makes sense.
And when land is, municipal land is dedicated park land, there are, essentially it establishes constraints on the future uses of the land. That becomes a permanent designation. You can't really change municipal parkland designation at a municipal level. You actually have to run it through a state agency.
Okay,
So that the transfer station could expand it.
right, into the park.
Go onto the park.
Okay, that's
Not that
important.
there's any plan.
Because it's already kind of, because the one parcel that includes, that's
So-
designated park, but it has area where they have like the yard waste pile, everything like that, so.
There was also, even before, Ed started working with the commission, there was an incursion or a possible incursion from the landfill onto the private property owner. The guy that owns that huge estate, that owns on Columbia Road, what's it called, Lions Lake, I think? Yeah, Lions Lake. So that was resolved by them getting a property survey and presenting it to the town.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah, I mean,
We don't go on, the town doesn't go on their private property.
nobody goes on
Private-
our property.
Private property, though.
It's pretty basic, actually.
Yeah,
It is, it's pretty basic.
just so you know, Johnny, the, Cranford Park had been done previously, so we have one on Cranford,
Oh, okay, great.
which is out 52,
Yeah.
I don't know. if you remember.
I'm familiar with it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the no further discussion on that, right?
I was just gonna say there was another, like the Thunder Bike Trail wasn't the first incident of having the trail built on the private property. There was an adjustment in the early 90s when that original stone dust path was put in also. So it's a recurring thing
Yeah.
of building trails and maintenance on the private property with this park.
Thanks, Ed. All right, Colleen, the dog park.
Okay, dog park status. I think at this point, what I need is to connect maybe with the town, that's to Beth. To connect with Terry and Bill, I guess, at the town to understand the process more officially. I've been trying to get in touch with the school just one more time to see if there's any way that land they have on Church and Warren Street that they would be open to partitioning off some of it. But I'm getting like a lot of,
Yeah, because I had asked about even for the youth center to petition before, but to use some of that and
They
they
do
said
not
no.
want it.
So,
and I was a little hopeful because I wondered with like the change in administration, if they would be fresh on this idea, but they're just not calling me back. So that was kind of my last attempt to find a space that could work, you know, just in the village, because I wanted to do all the due diligence. And the space that we've identified is in the village, but I was looking sort of on the other side of Maple Ave. But anyway, Bob Mangel's Botanic Garden, as we've discussed and as I presented, is like checks all of the boxes. The town seems to be very into it. So what I think we need to understand next is what process we need to go through to sort of officially cost it out. I also want to talk to Terry and Bill about like private-public partnership and what options there are there, because that's how we want to structure this, which will, I think, be a great precedent for the town and the village in terms of getting these kinds of things done with outside money and maybe a little quicker. So I think that's my next step, is just to talk with Terry and Bill more like tactically, what do we need? And then my other, the other side of it is outreach. I want to do kind of like a walk and talk campaign in the neighborhood on Washington Ave. Visit with some of the neighbors, and that's sort of the next step, just to like basically give people the presentation I've shared here with all of you and kind of like talk through any concerns and just give people a space before things start getting like approved at the town level. You know, nobody likes to feel like they weren't involved in the process, and so I think that's the next step. I think Carolyn, you had told me you were up for helping with the outreach. Those are the two next things. The Coalition of Forward Facing Ellenville has pledged to donate no less than $1,000 and up to $5,000 in funding, and are planning a fundraising campaign specifically for this park, which will be really fun and cute. I think it will involve dogs. So those are all the updates. But
So Jason question, Ed, is there a survey on that one? Before we run into problems, before we run into problems there.
Good question, Jerry.
There was some survey work done when they did all the waterway work, all of the Army Corps of Engineer work and everything, but it's kind of, and there's not, at least in the tax parcel, there's record of like the one of the adjoining parcel has no information associated with it. So it'd probably be useful to actually get a full survey of that as well, but let's try to get one survey through at a time.
Yeah.
Give me all the surveys, we'll just.
This one would be less expensive, but you know, I don't think we should be doing anything on there.
well,
Right.
yes and no. I mean, one thing that I know is that like the area that we are looking at for the actual fenced-in dog park area is well within the parcel, so I don't think we're at any risk. And also, it's contained within existing fencing. So,
As long as that fencing's on, you know. on
but
the real-
there's also no private property adjacent to the park.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there is these federal, you know, there's the federal flood works, that's built there, and probably want to know where those are. You know?
Ed, could you drum that up? Do you have access to anything that was done as part of that flooding?
I have whatever the town had in their file, so I think I took photos of all of them in like the January after my rock comment incident. I sat down at the town clerk's office and took a bunch of pictures of them. I could load them all up to the Google Drive, and
That would be amazing.
there's also like petitions about they were trying to put a playground in there at one point to, you know, resist the playground going in there. all that
Well, there
stuff.
used to be two neighbors that were very opposed to doing anything. They've since moved.
Okay.
So that's the good news there. And yeah, I just, it's very
Did you
interesting.
come across like notes in the file about that? About the
About
playground?
Playground, there was a couple signed petitions and everything in the file. So. I can load what I have, but they're not great maps. They're like the usual kind of flood control, very basic maps that get put together. I could upload those. I could do some digging at the clerk's office, but As far as I know, it has been a survey of the whole property.
That would
Better
be-
safe than sorry.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
it'd be
gonna be a
amazing.
building on there,
Right.
which, you know, be just some more.
Yeah, and also there's a history, I mean, it was a softball field and we're basically just following the line of the softball field. So where there was, so
Or the story is that there's a
Yeah.
elephant.
Elephant.
there's
So that's gonna
I heard this from 4 different people. And I think that it'll be amazing to create some kind of little shrine
Yeah.
and, you know, animal sanctuary of all kinds.
All right, let's move on. We're running
Well, I was just gonna say, one other thing, your public-private partnership pitch, I hope that goes well, because, I've seen, not at all, and not very many, but I've seen a couple of dog parks in my travels where the inside of the fence becomes, some good advertising real estate, you know, for either local business or pet-centered business. It's a little on the tacky side,
Yeah,
right? So,
not into that.
but yeah, so,
No way.
but, yeah.
But I think if we could get like one thought is like getting sponsors for the poop bag stations and the little trash things. And so like you could have, you know, Tractor Supply, just putting this out there, Tractor Supply signage on the poop station. And one thing I've talked about with Mike Jetter is that it'd be amazing if a sponsorship like that could include some of those poop pickup stations for Burn Road Park, other places in the village. And that's what I think we'll aim to do is like, let's like utilize the excitement of the dog park and the money we could get and like,
Go beyond it.
yeah, because then we can just ride the tide.
So Roger had indicated that the Roundup Valley vets would be supplying the poop bags on it. That's still.
Oh, that's
stable.
interesting, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of low hanging fruit in terms of the money.
Any old business overlooked? We've been pretty thorough here today.
Have you had a chance, I think at the last meeting, you said there was a tree you wanted to get out to.
Oh, yeah.
address.
No, I didn't get to.
So if you need help, we can connect, like you need another, you know,
So you filled
certified.
out one of those.
I haven't, but I can download it off the drive.
On the rail trail or,
Yeah, I might have already got.
yeah, it's gone, it's gone.
Oh, okay.
Somebody did it.
All right, fantastic.
I thought it was you. I almost sent you guys a note. I was like, oh, great.
No, small trees have a way of disappearing.
It was like,
Especially if it gets way four-wheelers and motorcycles.
it's me, that's an ancillary.
That's being the cynic in me.
Well, maybe the sheriff's department will do that when they're joyriding.
Right.
All right, so new business.
Okay, I'll share my idea for the agenda process. And Dina's not here. But one thing that I think might alleviate, you were saying you didn't want to update it a few times. You know, we've got the Google Drive we're using. We've been uploading the minutes to the Google Drive. I was wondering, could we create the agenda in there as a shared document? And then we can actually add notes like, no update on the survey at Littman, or great news, the survey at Littman is happening next week. And the idea here is that we could actually use the agenda to do a little bit of a conversation ahead of this meeting. So that at this meeting, we can like get into topics that need more discussion. So the status updates kind of happen in the doc beforehand. At the meeting, we're discussing, and we all have access to the doc. The way that Google Docs is an amazing tool is there's just one copy. So you don't email around the attachment that then can get out of date. It's like everybody's looking at the same active and live copy. And I think maybe that could be like a nice way to get a little bit more work done in between meetings and then use.
I think it's fine for updates, but I also think that the chairman of the commission should have control over the agenda items. That's like
Yeah.
the main role of the
So we
chairman.
could set the permissions so that everybody else just suggests edits
Makes comments.
and Jerry, you accept them.
So the only thing that, you know, and I don't know the local, you know, the state law. But I think don't agendas have to be posted so many days ahead of our meeting? So that's another problem. That's why
Where are they posted?
Tracy posted them on the website as soon as I send them.
On the town website.
Under us,
I
yeah.
think it's 72 hours prior to the meeting.
So I think that still works
Yeah,
though.
but what
Well,
if
for
you're,
updates, it works great.
yeah, because you're not changing
We're not
what's
changing
on
the
the
agenda.
agenda,
Right.
you're just getting in motion.
And I don't
what's
think we
being
should be
talked
changing
about.
what's on the agenda. Like,
No.
I don't put anything on the agenda. I asked Jerry if we can. put it
Right.
on.
I think
Yeah.
that should remain, but this is just a great way for us to kind of chime in with a comment with our
Oh, yeah, make the
update.
meetings go quicker too.
And I'm sure there's a permission
Yeah,
way to do it so that you can't edit what Jerry puts in there. You can just add more information, like you're saying, to kind of
Well,
start.
now, I say, so everybody can edit everything.
yeah, but we could change that
Yeah.
folder, we
Yeah.
could change the permissions on the folder.
We'll definitely look at it.
Okay.
My request is that you still send the agenda.
Oh, yeah, it'll be sent out,
Okay.
and then once I send it out, then I'll move it over onto,
No,
right? You
No,
want it
the-
done way before that?
the idea, here's what I'll do. I will sort of, I'll write this up and maybe I'll even record a little video just to show people what I'm talking about. But the idea is that the agenda lives in one place, which is on the drive. Jerry's the only one who can edit it, other people could suggest. And that he would send out a link to it. So instead of like attaching a file that then is like one copy of something, he's sending out the link to that
Why
original.
can't you send the agenda? I don't understand.
Yeah, no, he will send the agenda.
The
but
link is to the agenda.
It'll be in a link format.
Yeah, but I can still attach
Send
it
it,
to the
yeah.
email, because Tracy's still gonna need to put it on the
Yeah,
website,
no.
so.
One comment I have about that is it's additional work for the chairman, because if they have to look at everything, anything that people write and decide if it gets added or not, it's an additional.
I mean, what if you just don't even add it? You just keep the agenda how it is, but now you know where you could base your topics of where to talk from. So we already have that information. So last thing, before you come, you see what was written. And you come with the basis of what your agenda is, and now we know what space we're in when we come, like, oh, you said, oh, we're moving forward. Oh, I saw that somebody made a comment on this, and now we're moving forward here, and this was on tonight's agenda, let's start from here.
So you're talking about a separate document. There's the agenda.
It could still be,
and comments.
So we'll just have one main agenda, but you'll see our comments, we have where we're at the agenda, so we still have the agenda.
Maybe the best thing I can do for this idea is just record a quick video showing what I'm talking about. And we can just look at it before next meeting and talk about it.
Yeah.
And then it'll be super quick.
Honestly, the next 2 months, I'm gonna have minimal time to see it.
Yeah.
See
I think
something,
it sounds more
you know,
difficult
to be
than.
honest.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, ideally what it means like overall, Jerry, is that it would make your life easier. And it would make this meeting more valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine to get to that, but
We don't
for
have
the
to.
next couple of months,
You want,
you know,
okay.
we're gonna go baby steps here first week. I was doing a Super Bowl Sunday afternoon to get it done, so I wouldn't spend time on Monday. All right, new business.
So, are you now the official village representative here?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, that's been-
Welcome, Sam. I mean, you've been here before.
yes, but I wasn't the
It's nice.
official, but I'm
That's
official.
great.
Thank you, Sam.
Stamp of approval.
So go ahead. I don't think you have one.
Just one thing, it sounds like, Marcus, reached out to you and I about, rerouting there's a longstanding run in Allenville called Run Like the Wind. They donate any proceeds made to various charities, and, Marcus asked about rerouting it, or at least some of it. I'm not really sure about the route, but, using the newer section of the rail trail from the sewer plant up to the prison, or it sounds like a substantial part of the route. And, I think that's a great idea. That is on town property and village property. So I just kind of reached out to, I had a conversation with Terry, and he said, yeah, I mean, we could totally do that. We have a procedure in place, which basically, it's pretty typical, the person asking for the permit to use the town property, basically submits us a COI, a certificate of insurance, identifying the town. And, I don't know if the village has any procedure in place for use of village.
Same
Same
thing,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Blueberry Festival has to usually ask permission where it's gonna be.
Yep.
In letter form to both whoever's involved in this.
So the ask was made by Elliot, and, I told Elliot, basically check with the town and the village. So I'm gonna assume.
I know after last year, I was on the committee from Lake the Wind last year. Chief, Phil Nutrition, police chief, he was getting way too much pushback, from those attending
Yeah.
church,
Only.
number one, plus now the whole issue is
Yeah,
the
so that's,
police cost is.
so that's what now we're as the organization, so we're not saying we're not approving things, we're now asking for if it's part of a town thing as well, for them to help contribute to the cost, even the organization, where there's some kind of agreement, instead of us incurring all the costs.
Yeah, I mean, what we do, at the state is like, if somebody requires a permit that requires police, we basically require them to pay police at an overtime rate and then get off-duty cops to work. Which works out it's expensive, but it works out really well.
Yeah.
You get the police protection.
That's what we're looking for, something in the general, maybe not covering the whole cost, if it's too costly, but to come into an agreement and a compromise of who's paying what.
So I'm assuming, I've measured it, depends on where they want to start lines. Probably it would be just down and back is what I'm
As I
saying.
think, I don't know the
So it
route.
depends on where the start line is.
Yeah.
Cause you can start almost where Edwards curves and you're kind of within Reed. You can start there, go down to the driveway of the Bennett house, we'll call it, and turn around and come back.
I
That's
think
what I
it's
said.
just before the bridge. That's how far they'll go on the trail.
Oh, it's right to the shingle
Yeah.
go out, basically.
Yeah.
Because that's,
Well, then they're starting
So
with
they're
the street
starting
or something.
downtown. Yeah,
They're starting
they're still
somewhere in
gonna
the-
start at, I think, the boy with the boot area.
Yeah, in front of Brady.
Yeah, they should definitely share the route. I think, like, to our point earlier about just dissuading vandalism and misuse of the trail, it's gonna be awesome to
Yeah.
have so many people aware of it.
Yeah.
And actually, if Shingle Gully is, you know, a big dollar project, I wonder if there's a way we can ask Marcus and Run Like the Wind, maybe just to contribute to that sign as a part of, yeah, just, you know, because we can't ask the village for $500 right now for a sign, but it just would be so amazing to have that sign. So maybe that's the ask.
yeah, possibly. Races don't make a ton of money. I mean, I haven't seen the receipts from this race, maybe you have.
Oh, they do pretty good.
They do well, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big event.
A
So
lot of people contribute, the fees.
I'm gonna pose that, because then they could still donate. I think they'll still have money to donate to another, whatever they want to donate to, but maybe it's a, you
They
know,
have normally in the past donated towards sports.
or emergency response. I think they gave money to the
Well,
fire.
it started from that, Ellenville First Aid Rescue Squad. There was a fundraiser for that. You know, back,
Genesis of the event.
yeah, 30-some years ago, Elliott actually started and stuff. It's usually youth and sports, that's what they've done. They've done some scholarships, I think, at the school. So, I mean, you can ask them, I'm sure.
Yeah,
they'll tell
I'm
you.
gonna see, maybe they'll.
I know they did family
So-
one year. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
So it is, yeah. All right, I don't think that's, our issue to say yes or no on.
I think what we can do is just maybe support it as a good idea.
When we did
Works for the
one,
village.
yeah, when we did one for the Wassel years ago, I measured it, it went from the chamber sidewalk at the Hunt building, basically down and through, you went across the bridge, the big bridge on the rail trail, and went another maybe 100, 200 yards, and then turned around to the back. That was a 5K from. So I.
5K? Is that a
That's what the Ellenville's been, 5K, they used to have a 10K, they knocked that out.
Should we pass a resolution in support of having it on the rail
I
trail?
think that's a great idea. I was just gonna say that because it's win-win all around. It's
Yeah.
exposure for the rail trail and it saves the village some money by limiting the number of police required at traffic stops and crossings.
So somebody put the
Make-
verbiage,
Make a
put the verbiage.
resolution that the commission support, moving the Run Like the Wind race to the, rail trail.
Certainly a portion of it.
Yeah, of course.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? I think we're all in support, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. All right, we're right around 9 o'clock, any other new business? All right, on that note, we'll adjourn and it'll be March 21st here. I don't know if anybody wants to go down, did you plan on going down, Lena, to Bob
I
Macko?
think it was too long for people probably, but maybe what I'll do is, email folks and see if people wanna do a little outing outside of the meeting.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
I already know I will not be able to